2017 Camaro ZL1. 275 miles on the speedometer. A little more than 80 miles of that was just getting it home. Thanks, buddy. Thanks a lot. So why a Camaro? Why this Camaro? Well, my wife and I, in various combinations thereof, have had 5 previous Camaros. Every generation except Generation 5. Gen 5, I don't know, I liked it, I appreciated it, but it just never jumped out at me. I never felt like I had to have one. Gen 6, I saw this car and I said, wow, this is a Camaro I wouldn't mind having. Obviously the ZL1, sitting at the top of that pyramid, is the one you really want. And I went back and forth between the ZL1 or the SS with the 1LE package, mainly based on price and availability, to see what I could get. First choice obviously was the ZL1, and I was thinking about getting it in white. Black was definitely a close contender. But I found, as I started to do my search, they were really hard to find, like almost impossible to find. So I had to expand my search beyond the state of Delaware, where I live, because nobody in Delaware had allocation and could get any. I found one in Maryland, in Laurel, Maryland, at Auto Nation, and lovely Stephanie took care of me over there, got me in this car in the matter of 12 hours because there were a lot of people interested in it. First drive home was 80 miles, and that was kind of nice to be able to get acquainted with your car on a nice long drive home. It has since spent most of its time in the garage until I could get paint protection on the front, which I got done. You saw the video on that. If you didn't, I'll put a link underneath. You can go check out video. It's kind of an interesting, here's how they do it type of video on the paint protection. So I got that done, and now I feel a little less paranoid about taking this beautiful black machine out on the road. Because, until you get that first little scratch or that first stone chip, you are just paranoid as hell. So that's the mode I'm still in. So why the ZL1? Well, for me, it's, the power, and this thing has an incredible amount of power. It's not really about the power. That's a nice to have, nice to know it's there. You got to respect it because it is all that. But it's really, I love the trim. I love the look. I love everything they've done with it, with the all the arrows that are around this car. 11 intercoolers in this car to keep it cool, and from every report it does do that. This car shares the exact same power plant as the Corvette V06, and in the initial offerings of the V06, I think they had some cooling problems, and so they addressed that with the Camaro. And from everything I've seen, read, and heard, she stays cool no matter what you do with it, so that is a good thing. 650 horsepower, 650 pound-feet of torque. This is nothing at which to sneeze. It is powerful, and you can feel that power all across the spectrum. That power band is just stays there. So for many years, I was a German car driver, specifically BMW. Had a number of 3 Series. 3 Series, is that a word? Loved them, I thought they were the most incredibly handling machines I had ever felt. they can't hold a candle to this thing. So I'm telling you, as someone who has owned three Series BMWs, they cannot touch this car. I've never owned an M3, but I've driven them. And while they are nice, they are still no comparison. This car handles incredibly. When you dial in, the suspension and the steering for like track mode, this thing is just so stiff, it's not even funny. How many production cars have you driven that come with a G-force gauge? This one comes with a G-force gauge. The heads-up display is awesome, and G-force gauge is one of the things you can put up in your heads-up display. In the owner's manual supplement that comes with this car for performance, there's a table of recommended tire pressures for drag strip, recommended tire pressures for the track. Again, this is a production car. So this is about as close to a race car as you can get out of the showroom at your local dealership. I am still learning this car. I haven't put enough hours in the driver's seat really to learn much about anything. So I'm still trying to learn all of the controls and functions and things like that. So you have a lot of options on what your view is for information in the instrument cluster and the head-up display. ZL1 comes equipped with electronic limited slip differential. It's a staggered setup on the wheels and tires. 305s in the back, 285s up front, both of them sitting on 20-inch rims. The tires are Goodyear Eagle F1 Supercar Generation 3. The Generation 3 tires were specially formulated just for this car. I keep forgetting to use 6th gear. The car does have a 6th gear. The 6th gear is pretty much nothing but overdrive, but even in 6th gear, you've got power if you want it. On that first drive home, getting used to the shifting in this car, and it's been a long time since I've driven a stick. You don't forget, but you sure do get rusty. So getting used to driving the stick again on the way home, and then on top of that, in this car, with all this power, more than once passing somebody and going from 3rd to 4th gear at like 50, 60 miles an hour, I was chirping the tires. So that made me realize that this thing can definitely be a handful, and you got to respect it. Recaro seats are standard in the ZL1. They are nice, very, very comfortable. Very high aggressive bolstering to hold you in place if you want to take a few tumbles around some curves. And not only are they heated, but they're also cooled, so they're ventilated seats. And that does feel nice on a warm day. Not only do the 11 integrated intercoolers keep the engine and transmission cool and the supercharger, but these ventilated Recaro seats keep the driver cool too. One thing that made getting used to this stick a lot easier is the rev match feature. There is a rev match feature available. Standard in this car, I believe it's also standard on the SS with the 6-speed. And it does help. It does definitely help. especially for downshifts. So there are a lot of options in this car, like for your information in the dash. But I'm getting a little annoyed because I can't find the one I want, and that's the one with all the gauges across the top. I'm stuck on having just the old throwback gauge picture. I'll show you that. But I'm stuck on this, and I've read the manual. I did RTFM, for those of you who are saying, RTFM! I did. And I still can't get it. All right. So I'm just about to the toy store where I pick up my other product for review. A little something from HK. A little something new from HK. Not to drop any hints. Okay, boys and girls. It's fairly hard to keep this car under 70 or 80. It wants to go fast. Thank goodness it does have cruise control. So I know people have a lot of different philosophies about break-in. Some people strictly follow the manufacturer's recommendation in the manual. Some people drive it like they stole it. And some people are kind of in between. I'm kind of in between. The one thing I do believe, whether you have an automatic transmission or a gearbox, is that you should try and run the car consistently through its range of gears and not keep it at any one particular speed for a super long time. So in other words, you shouldn't buy a brand new car and then take it for a cross-country drive, because that's going to be a lot of same speed, same gear. So I try to mix my driving up, and for the first, well, I just turned 308 miles, so for the first 300 miles, the car had 11 on it when I got it. This one goes to 11. What was I saying? For the first 300 miles, I have tried to keep it fairly mixed up. So the purpose for this car is to take fun drives when the weather is nice, and to sit in the garage with a cover on it when the weather is not nice. So would I recommend this car as a daily driver? No. Doesn't mean it couldn't be one. There's no reason, there's no real legitimate reason why this car could not be a daily driver. But it would drive me personally insane to try and make a daily driver out of it. First thing, gas mileage. You're not going to get any. You shouldn't expect any, and you shouldn't complain about it. So you're going to get 16 miles to the gallon, and if you think that's okay for your daily driver, then you've either got a really short drive or you've got a lot of money to spend on gas. Number two, tires. It doesn't have any, not for weather. I mean, basically, this car has racing slicks with tread drawn on with magic marker. Dry weather, summer only, and they're not kidding about that. So if you wanted to daily drive this, number one, you're going to wear through, even in proper conditions of warm weather and dry weather, you're going to run through these tires quick because they don't have good tread wear ratings. They're made to be sticky, not last a long time. If you get any kind of weather, I mean, even a rain or a little bit of cold. And oh, by the way, summer tires in cold weather, even if it's dry, don't do well because they're too hard and too slick. So if you're going to make a daily driver out of a car like this and you live in a temperate climate, you're going to have another set of wheels and tires to swap them out with. I've been that route with cars before, and you start out going, that's no big deal, I'll just keep this other set of wheels and tires. It's a pain in the butt, so I don't want that. But yeah, you could daily drive this car. You probably would get a lot of speeding tickets. And once you get this car in 6th gear, it just quiets right down. It really does make a difference. The tach just falls right off to about 1500. Car quiets down. Pretty much the only thing you're hearing now, just the tires on the road, which is enough noise with these wide tires. So I owned a first generation Camaro, 1968, beautiful, black, had black lacquer, beautiful, beautiful car. Had 2 Gen 2s, had a 79 and an 81. The 81 was a Z28. That was that big body Z28. It was in charcoal gray metallic with red stripes, red interior. It was quite loud for its day. Had a Gen 4 in teal. Anybody remember when teal was popular? Does anybody know why it was popular? But anyway, had one. I'm sorry, that was Gen 3. Had Gen 3 in teal. Not to be confused with Gen Teal, which is a whole different thing. Had a Gen 4 black Z28. That was nice. Didn't have a Gen 5. Gen 6, however, speaks to me. And the ZL1 spoke to me real loud. So that was my preference. So the other thing about the 2017 Camaro that I really wanted was the 50th anniversary. And you can see this little tasteful 50 badge right here. And I know they have a full edition, but I think that's just like Rally Sport trim. So I like the 50th anniversary a lot, especially since I do have a personal heritage of Camaros, and I've had every generation but one. So I did like that. So I didn't want to wait till 2018, because 51st anniversary isn't nearly as big a deal. So I wanted the 50th anniversary. I wanted the ZL1. That's what I got. That's what I love. The ride is surprisingly good in this car, considering what it is, considering how stiff this chassis is and how stiff the suspension is. The ride is surprisingly good. Now, don't get me wrong; it's not going to feel like your dad's Lincoln Continental. But you don't want it to, right? You want to feel the road. You want feedback. So I'll come back later and we'll circle back and do a things I like and probably a things I don't like. That seems to be the popular genre or thing to do with car videos. But just kind of an early first 300 miles thoughts. I like almost everything. A couple of the things I'm not crazy about are how hard it is to figure out the instrumentation and just the options you have and how to get to things. And reading the manual doesn't help. There's like no pictures in the owner's manual. The owner's manual is all text and no pictures. Sorry, I'm a picture guy. I need pictures. So that's difficult. So I'm still trying to figure out how to get two menu options and use different things. So there's that. Visibility is that's always a big thing with Camaros. People complain pretty hard. So a lot of people will not own a Camaro because of the visibility. The visibility is not great. That's probably an understatement. The visibility is not good, let's say, is more accurate. But I am finding, and I know this is a cliche, and people say it, but you do get used to it. Having some sensors in the mirrors that'll warn you about blind spots and things like that helps a lot, actually. But yeah, you just gotta be extra aware. Situational awareness is very important when you're driving this car because visibility is not great, and you're low and you're relatively small, so everybody's not going to see you like they do in your truck or your SUV. What else you guys want to know? Steering wheel feels great. It's a flat bottom steering wheel, very sports oriented. It is telescoping and tilting, so you can adjust it right where you need it. The seats are power. Driver's side has memory with 2 settings. Also has an easy exit function, which my old body appreciates. The steering wheel is wrapped in suede. The seats, the centers are suede. Outside parts of the seats are leather. There's suede on the doors, suede on the dashboard, suede on the shifter, and even these little knee pads here in the center console are suede covered. So really nice. There we go. There's a nice old Camaro, about a 67 or 8. So the interior, for the most part, is pretty nice. Now, it's not going to be German car quality. It's still plastic, but the plastic is a little nicer plastic. I like their infotainment screen. Comes with OnStar, of course. Comes with a Sirius 1-year subscription, which is nice. That's a good generous trial subscription for Sirius. Been a Sirius subscriber for a long time anyway, so I appreciate getting the free year. It's got a Bose sound system. I believe it's a 9-speaker Bose system. Sound quality is very good. The official top speed on this car, 198 miles an hour. Although they said they ran faster times when they were off the record. I don't doubt it. All right, so if you guys, if you're familiar with my channel, you know normally I'm doing gun reviews. And don't worry, we're not stepping away from that. We're just adding to it. But if you are familiar with my channel, you know one of the things I do like to do is give you some nice eye candy. I'm definitely going to give you some nice eye candy with this. Fear not. I guess maybe the visibility, the feel of driving the car and the visibility kind of feels like you're in the cockpit of a fighter plane wearing a medieval knight's helmet. Climate control system seems to work pretty good. You can adjust the speed of the fan a few different ways. You can adjust each individual vent with a center knob for fan speed or how much airflow. Basically, you're opening and closing some baffles in there. And then you got fan controls here for the overall system. If you turn on the ventilated seats, though, that's awesome. That works nice.